What a hockey game you saw last night as your Boston Bruins immediately started screwing up and fell behind, and then ultimately it was 6-4. I was saying earlier, and this might just be nonsense, but just for the sake of conversation today, it's very good that the Bruins signed Swayman before the season because Korpisalo ask Ty Anderson. He's the big expert. Ty Anderson is now host of the hockey show. He's been promoted. Ty, that makes you feel good, huh? You're hosting the hockey show?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I don't want to cover more games like that. If we have to talk about that every week, that's going to be a bummer. But yeah, no, definitely excited. An opportunity that definitely wanted, and happy to be doing it with Ryan, Bob, have some guests as well, obviously. I know they're involved. I don't want to speak on terms of anyone else because I don't know all the operations. Like that's been the weirdest part for me is like learning like, hey, you're gonna have this person here. You gotta hit this. You gotta hit that. So I'm excited. You're gonna have to give me some pointers, Fred, on how to do that.
Oh, well, I rely more on just instinct and talent. So that's what I'm going to have you do.
Yes.
You know
You heard the show. I don't know that it can be imparted to you, Ty. It's a gift from God.
Observe. You got to observe.
If you ask Intern Isaac, the secret's not coming in too early, is what he learned from me. Now, all right, let's talk about Korpisalo. 6 goals. He made some decent saves. How did you gauge his performance? Is he as bad as advertised?
Definitely a mixed bag in terms of like what you got out of him. If you look at the play in front of him, they were awful out of the gate. I don't know if any goaltender would have saved them last night in terms of, when you allow 30 shot attempts in the opening 20 minutes, like you need a goalie to post a 950 just to stay afloat. And he's not that guy, and he's not going to be that guy. And that was the biggest concern when you go from Linus Ullmark to Jonas Korpisalo, and you understand that you had to do it, but Korpisalo he was so bad a year ago in so many ways. But one of the things was like, you could, if he got taxed in terms of like how many high danger looks he was facing, how many quality shots he was facing, like he would crumble. And you saw signs of that last night. Now, again, like that's why I say it's sort of a mixed bag, because I don't know if anyone would have done better with the start they had. It was an awful start. They looked like trash out of the gate. You get outshot 12-1, right out of the gate. You're not going to win that game. And that's the frustrating part. But you did see some of Ottawa Korpisalo. He lost the puck 4 times, I think, in the opening 20 minutes.
Yep.
On rebounds. 2 of those times ended up in the back of their net. So that's obviously a problem. I didn't love the shorthanded goal he gave up. I thought you got to get a save there. And I know people are going to quibble and say, well, McAvoy, he's got to defend that better. But yeah, you need a save. Like it can't always be, oh, well, he's got to make, like, it can't always be the team in front of him has to do everything. Like he's got to make a save every now and then. That's part of his job. And so in that respect, it wasn't a good start. I thought he got better as the game went on, oddly enough. But tough spot and not exactly the greatest first impression, but it is one game and they were awful.
Okay, so talking about the guys playing in front of him last night, Ty, the size of the defenseman is something that we all looked at and said, okay, that's a good thing. They didn't seem to be moving that well last night, and maybe more importantly, and to the point, in front of Korpisalo last night, they weren't clearing traffic out from in front of him. I think Lowry ended up, on his chest on one of those goals. So yeah, they've got the size, but they really didn't have the movement. They weren't clearing, and they didn't seem to be keeping their skates in times when Korpisalo really needed them to.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of happy you brought up Lowry in the sense that he kind of had a really quiet camp, and now it's bleeding over into it was a bad start. It was a bad game 1 for him offensively, creating plays. I thought there was a great sort of play, not for the Bruins, but sort of encapsulated everything about this rivalry and the problems that the Bruins have with Florida. Second period, Brandon Carlo carries the puck up. He's getting pressured from behind. He goes to the red line. He tries dumping it in. It doesn't get in deep. And the Panthers are now in a 3-on-1 and they score a goal. Like that's sort of like every time you make that kind of mistake against this team, it ends up in the back of your net. And So that's something that like they haven't adjusted that. They haven't corrected that. Their defense is supposed to be their strength, but last night, yeah, they couldn't make plays. They couldn't get out of their own zone. They couldn't activate the way that they want to. Like the Bruins want to have a defense that is so long and so rangy that they are sparking their rush for a 4-on-3 opportunity every time. You didn't see that basically at all last night. Now you did get a few of them, but the game was already over by that point. Well, like when you go down 4-1 after 20 minutes and then it's quickly 5-1, it's like, all right, pack it in. Like
That's it.
you're gonna get your looks, but it's because you're down by 4 goals at that point.
The other thing the Bruins didn't do well against Florida last night is stay in the game mentally. They got baited how many times? Handful of times. Frederick was chief culprit in that play against Kachuk in the middle of the game. Why can't the Bruins get out of their own heads when they play against this team?
That part is really annoying because I get why they want to do it, but Kachuk isn't going to give them what they want. He's just not. And you're going to play into his hands just like, Marchand can play in other teams' hands. Or he can get them to play into his hands, rather. Like, I get it. They want frontier justice. He's not going to fight Trent Frederick. He's not going to fight Nikita Zadorov. He's going to lose that fight. And why would he give the Bruins that fight? If you're already down by 3 goals, 4 goals, why would you fight? And so that's sort of, the excuse that he has in his back pocket. But yes, it did feel like at a certain point, they were like, once they were down by 2, it was like, all right, time to settle scores. And it's like, no, the game is still the game is still there.
Yeah, if you want to do it once to spark the team because you think they're sluggish, fine. But the second and third time, it's not working. So you should stop doing it because even when you go shorthanded, if they're not scoring on those power plays, it's not good to be shorthanded. It's not good to keep putting yourselves in those situations because eventually it will catch up with you.
Yeah, and you sort of look at Nikita Zadorov and that signing and what he did last night. Great teammate move, bad time to do it. And that's sort of the problem there. Like, with Zadorov, I love the signing because he makes you bigger. He adds some snarl back there. But he was also one of the most penalized defensemen in the league last year in terms of taking bad penalties, taking himself out of plays. So for as good as he has been, as good as he can be, that has been a problem. And so when people were saying, oh, well, he's great for the Bruins Panthers, and I was like, yeah, he can be. But if the Panthers rat him, into taking bad penalties, then it almost negates his presence. And last night was an example of that. So that has to change. And listen, I think it would between now and the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be calling some of the penalties they called in the playoffs, last night. But yes, no, the sight of the Panthers red makes the Bruins lose their minds. It's kind of incredible at this point that they haven't woken up to that and adjusted. And there is some bad luck in there. And I am still amazed that the Panthers get away with some of the things they get away with.
And the Bruins don't, because it did seem like, and especially even Bob Beers was saying, it seemed like things were getting called a little one-sided last night. A little.
I don't like that Sam Bennett has this reputation as this hard-nosed player, yet he's squeaky clean somehow. And it's like, well, yeah, it's easy to do that when you're never called for anything. Like that cross-check in front of on Morgan Geekie, that's a penalty. That's a penalty every day of the week. I don't know why it wasn't last night, especially when we just talked about Zadorov. You look at what he's called for going up to Kachuk. They call it a cross-check. I watched it 4 times. I can't find a cross-check. I just can't find it.
That's what Beers was like. I don't have any idea what they're talking about. You can't call that he didn't do anything. That was a phantom penalty. So there. Well, I wonder if the Bruins had an edict, and last night they were like, "Look, it's 1 of 82. Let's take a run at these guys, and just make the message known that we're not going to be pushed around." And it just.
I think Monday's going to be like that. I think Monday at the Garden has the chance to be ugly.
So you're saying I should go?
You should go
because I'll be welcomed.
Yes,
they're letting the ugly people. All right.
Well, I'm allowed in every game, so I got that going for me.
Yeah. All right. Ty Anderson, thank you so much. People can read him at 985thesportshub.com. He's the best.
He's the host of the hockey show.
Yeah, and that's on Saturdays, and you can hear that as well. Ty, thank you so much for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.